Hello, and welcome back to Drinks and Discussions True Crime. We are here today with my co-host Autumn and our beautiful guest host Bevan, Hellcat Bevan. So Autumn, you are back. Where have you been?
Between the holidays and being sick and then going out of town, I've been quite busy the last few weeks. Last week we went to, we did like a little staycation in downtown Fort Worth. Took my little goddaughter to go to the zoo and go see the Christmas lights at the Arboretum and stuff. So it was nice.
That sounds fun, but we have missed you.
I've missed you! For the most part.
To get into the Arboretum this year because every time I go, I like get really mad that I have to pay so much money to look at flowers.
Yeah, no, this was for the Christmas lights. If it was just to look at flowers, it would have been a hard no because I'm not spending that much money to look at plants. I also am terrified of bees and stuff, so the Arboretum's like last place I ever want to go.
I always take my kids over to Tiffany's house if they want to go to the zoo or the Arboretum because she has so many exotic animals and plants. I'm like, here you go, kids, get a good look in. There you go. I should pay you $10 every time we come over for entertainment.
We just had a feeding day yesterday. We fed all the animals.
Oh damn, we missed it.
I would hope that you feed them every day.
Some don't eat every day. Like, some of them eat every day. Like, this fat little hog right here, she eats everyone's food, and then she has snacks out of the trash can.
I believe it. Reggie's hiding right now, but Reggie's gotten so big he can barely jump up on the couch. He just eats.
She's on diet food.
Yeah, no, he needs to be, but the problem is he eats all of his food, then he scavenges the house for the other dog's food. Because Kilo won't eat all of his food in one sitting. Like, he likes to nibble on it, then he'll come back to it. Well, Reggie's like, screw you, I'm eating it. There's food in the bowl. And so, yeah, Reggie eats 3 minutes.
When I cook for the kids, I always eat last because I give them their plates first. But I need to stop doing that practice because I feel like an abused parent. They always want to steal my dinner because they're finished with theirs. Oh, can I have some of yours? And so then I get this small of the portion.
Yeah.
It's just not working out for me. I'm hangry. I'm hangry all the time because these kids still big. If I wither away, it's because Sawyer had to have another pork chop on Tuesday night. So you'll know.
That's while I'm cooking. I eat the food I'm cooking.
See, I do that too, but then I'm like, oh. I want to sit down every now and again, but I guess that's never going to happen. I'm just going to have to eat on the fly for the rest of my life.
Well, for the next 12 years.
Oh, sweetheart. I'm raising emotionally dependent children. They're going to be with me forever.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding. I'm doing now that we're doing true crime, all I can think is yeah, you're never going out in the world. I'm fixing to put a camera on you, a monitor on you, GPS tracking on your car. I'm going to know your boyfriend's blood type, his family members, the tree, the DNA, genealogy. So welcome to turning. Well, good luck having your own life, sweethearts.
Well, after this story today that we talk about, you're definitely going to keep them locked up in their rooms. Just kidding. But let's talk about what we're drinking because somebody had the brilliant idea to do our show this morning. So I'm not drinking alcohol because I have to do soccer mom activities in a little bit. I'm drinking a
You're drinking a what?
Chai latte.
Ah.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a mimosa.
Somebody doesn't have soccer mom activities today. Bevan, what are you doing?
I have a haircut at 4:15.
Well, I did Dr. Pepper last week, and I didn't want to be boring, and I wanted everybody to know that I'm a very classy lady. So I am drinking a Dr. Pepper shrimp cocktail. And it's great.
I'm scared.
Delicious.
I'm a little scared of you.
It's breakfast on the go with a Dr. Pepper. Very classy. Very classy. Letting y'all know.
Yeah. Right. So, Autumn, I don't know how much research you did on Summer Wells, but I mean, I didn't really look at anything, but I knew that from when it happened, I was kind of in the loop with it. And There was some really suspicious things in the Summer Wells case, like the mother being friends with a 15-year-old boy. Weird.
So I actually did a whole bunch of research on this if you want me to parlay this real quick.
So tell us about it.
Okay, so Summer Wells is a 5-year-old girl from Tennessee County, Tennessee. Her parents own about 10 or 11 acres in Hawkins County, Tennessee, which is actually they live in what's called Beach Creek, but Beach Creek isn't a real town, so they use what the Hawkins, basically it's Hawkins County, Tennessee. There's a mom, Candace. There's a dad, Don. There's also a grandma named Candace, but we're going to call her Grandma Candy for short. That's what they called her. They live on this property up in the hills in Tennessee. Grandma Candy also lives on this property. Well, she did until she moved. She had a white trailer about 25 feet from the house, interestingly enough. We're talking about Summer Wells. She was 5, like I mentioned. She had 3 older brothers. Summer goes missing on June 15th, 2021. Now, what's interesting about Summer here, and we're talking about child neglect, and she's never been found, by the way. She's never been found, no leads. They don't know what happened. I personally have theories on it. Okay, so just to sum it up, Summer was a tomboy. She was very active with her brother. She was also very much a little girl. Interestingly enough, she had just recently shaved her head. So did her mother, and her mother was claiming that she had shaved her head because she just wanted to look like a boy. But there's other theories that she probably shaved her head in the boys' heads and the mother's heads because of lice, which, that's more probable. They also had about 8 to 13 dogs on the property, which I'll get back to why that's important later. 8 to 13 dogs. 8 to 13 dogs.
Dogs be barking.
Dogs be barking. Okay, thank you. Okay, so in this area in Tennessee County, it's there's a lot of drug usage, a lot of drug wars going on. They have something called the Cornbread Mafia, and basically the way that Dawn had described the Cornbread Mafia, interestingly enough, was they run meth and moonshine, and they're basically like the Blood and Crips of hillbillies. So it's been insinuated that they had something to do with their disappearance, but it's definitely probably the parents, and I'll say that with confidence. I don't care. So anyways, that night, the night before she goes disappearing, Summer spends the night in her parents' bedroom. They said that they were trying to break her of the habit, but they let her go ahead and spend the night. Don leaves for work. His work site was supposedly 45 minutes to an hour away. Candace gets up because she has to take Candy, her mama, to a doctor's visit for a prosthetic knee surgery, which she had prosthetic knees and she was getting refit for it and all that good kind of stuff. So throughout the day, there's 2 different timelines going on throughout the day what they did, which Tiffany mentioned a 15-year-old boy. Candace, the mother, had a relationship with a 15-year-old boy because she used to be best friends with his mama. Her and his mama had a falling out, but she still was friends with a 15-year-old son because that's fucking normal.
That's weird.
That's weird. I mean, that would be like me and Tiffany having falling out and be like, "Can I come pick up your son? Hang out with him?
And do drugs with
Yeah, I'd probably get shot." So anyways, they say that between waiting for her to go to the doctor, Candace says that he texted her that morning. He says that Candace texted him, saying, "Hey, Grandma Candy is getting, in the doctors. Do you want to hang out? Yada, yada, yada." Her and Summer, the 5-year-old, go pick up the guy. What was his name? We'll just call him a 15-year-old. He's not important. It's on my other notes. What was his name?
We'll just protect him.
We'll just protect him, even though he's weird. So he says that they get Grandma Candy out of there, and then they go make their timelines are all added, so I won't go into the timelines because that's just something that's going to take us an hour to go into. But basically, they made several stops. One was at a vape shop that sells like CBD pens, THC pens, Delta 8 pens, and then other pens. They're very common, called the Hippie House. They end up getting, I think, like 3 Twisted Teas that day, some vape pens, and then they head to a lake or a pond to let Summer go swimming. Candace does know, however, that the 15-year-old boy wanders into the woods for quite some time. So 15-year-old boy, of course, denies this. And interestingly enough, she said that the day went fine, nothing went weird when they were swimming, but the 15-year-old boy claims that Summer had gone into the water for a few minutes and he had taken off his shoes and shirts to go in after her to make sure that she was okay. Candace denies this ever happening.
I have something to add. You said their day went fine, blah, 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 blah. They claimed that sometime during their day that the mother, Candace, the grandmother, Candy, and Summer went outside and planted some flowers
When they got back from swimming. So they get back from swimming, they drop off the 15-year-old boy. They go back, like you're saying, the grandmother says, "Oh, I'm going to plant some flowers." Now, I'm glad you brought that up because why would you go plant flowers if you just had prosthetic knee surgery?
Yeah.
The mother said that she had to go to the RV that she was living in, that the grandmother was living in, and help her get her prosthetic on. If somebody needs help getting their prosthetic on and they just had this surgery, I just don't being likely that she went out to go and plant some flowers outside.
Well, here's the interesting fact, Tiffany. So Summer goes in the house. They say Summer goes in the house. She hollers at the three brothers, "Hey, watch your sister." Then she goes out to help Grandma Candy. Now, here's what's interesting about this property layout. Grandma Candy's trailer is 25 feet from the house. Grandma Candy's trailer, where they're at, is literally right by the back door, where if somebody had abducted Summer, they would have had to have taken her out the basement door, right next to fucking Grandma Candy's trailer.
And where their mom was. The mom was in there helping her.
Right, so the mom says she goes back inside. She says 2 minutes. Other reports say 5 minutes. Who knows how long it actually was? And she says, "Boys, where's your sister?" And the boys say, "Oh, she went downstairs to go play with her toys." Well, then apparently after that, she's missing. Candace calls Dawn, her husband, and says, "You need to get home." What's interestingly enough, though, Dawn, who was 45 minutes away at work, supposedly, which more people say it's like an hour, got there before the police did. Weird.
Yeah.
So still to this day, they've never found Candace. And what's also interesting, I've watched multiple interviews because I've been into this case since it started because I had a 5-year-old at the time. She's now 6, almost 7. They went on Dr. Phil. They went on a bunch of interviews, and they kept referring to Summer in past tense. Everything they have said about her, she was beautiful. She was great. Oh, she used to do this. Why in the God's green earth are you going to say she was, unless you know that she's 110% gone?
Yeah, because she's missing at this time. She's missing.
For 3 days. 3 days missing. And the father keeps saying, "Well, I know she was abducted immediately." How do you know that there, Dawn? How do you know that? And the fact that he's the one that brought up the cornbread mafia and the drugs and stuff. So I either think one of two things, because we're covering this case quickly. I either think the mother was having an affair with a 15-year-old, the daughter saw something, she had to get rid of her. That's one theory I have. Theory number 2 is that the mother was in for some drug money, and she basically sold her kid to pay off her debts.
So about the abduction, you mentioned that there were 13 dogs on the property, and I'm sorry, but if a stranger came onto my property and I had 13 dogs, those MFers would be barking.
My dog barks at me. I have a fat little like weenie dog kind of thing. I forget a puggle. Sorry, I have a pug beagle. And this dog barks, and she's the sweetest thing ever. But she barks if I open a hot dog package, much less one of my kids is getting fucking taken out of the house with some strange ass man 25 feet away from my grandma's trailer.
Even if a car had pulled up, because I assume that they didn't take her on foot and run, right?
Well, that's the thing. Did anybody even take her? You see what I'm saying? And it took them a while to report as well, just like the last case that we covered, because for some reason, I guess everybody wants to take forever to report. But here's what's even crazier. So this is all the info that had come out. But recently, in the last month, a lot of developments have happened. There's been a lawsuit about the reward money going on for her. There's also been neighbors coming out saying that a next door neighbor of theirs, the day that she went missing, had texted Candace on Facebook and says, "Hey, do you guys need anything?" And do you know what Candace's response was there?
What?
A 6-pack of Mountain Dew.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So police know this and stuff. A 6-pack of Mountain Dew when your child's missing. That pretty much solidified it for me. There's been body language experts, and I would hate to say, oh, anybody's guilty, but I have never seen parents act so guilty and not be guilty.
Do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Alyssa Bustamante.
I know the case, but I'm trying to refresh my memory.
15-year-old girl who killed her neighbor just for the thrill of it and buried her in a hole on the property. And pretended like they didn't know what happened. And the police pretty much believed them until they found her diary that she had written in.
Yeah. the mother, there's a bunch of, like, if you go watch the Dr. Phil interviews that she did, the mother is just, so I'm empathic. I read people pretty well. If you watch the interviews, she does not, and we don't know how we would act if our child's missing or dead or grieving. So obviously, everybody acts different, but for a grieving mother, you can tell that it's not, something's off. You know what I mean? She knows where her kid is. She knows where her kid is. The way she tells stories, she uses a lot of stuff like, oh, well, like it's like this, or well, like it's like that. That's more of a story that you've tried to rehearse and you don't remember. Oh, it's like this. Oh, it's like that, because you're trying to explain details. You're trying to fill in details that aren't true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that it's just part of the read technique to, like, that's the interrogation technique that police normally use, to, like, find cues, like a combination of the body language and then using the past tense and things like that. If they find 3 markers, that is a sign of deception.
Oh, well, here's another interesting thing. So a week after this whole thing happens, remember how we were talking about Grandma Candy?
Mm-hmm.
Grandma Candy took the trailer and left a week after her granddaughter goes missing.
Autumn, what do you think about this?
What? Sorry, I was reading.
I was saying, what do you think of this? Actually, their house now at this time has been completely abandoned. It's boarded up. Some of the walls are gone and replaced with plywood.
Oh, well, Don's actually doing fence work now because he just posted on Facebook 2 weeks ago talking about fun fencing. So at least Don's doing fencing while his daughter's out there missing. We're happy for him. Also,
Well,
Don is a drywaller, so if you wanted to hide a body, I'm pretty sure that you could drywall her up in the walls, but that's just another theory.
So I was reading something else, too, that apparently this girl's aunt vanished in 2009.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did cover that in the Dr. Phil. I completely forgot about that. So that was a whole thing. And I think they were trying to blame, like, the mom was there or had something to do with that.
Yeah. Because that's what I was trying to read more on. Because apparently, yeah, the aunt vanished. Her car was found 30 miles away from her home, and she was just gone. No one's ever seen her since 2009. No one knows what or anything.
Ironic. I have 0 missing people in my family.
Thank you. What are the chances you have too?
Yeah.
It's either the cornbread mafia or their family is fucked.
Okay.
Well, this is the thing. If you're owing drug money, if you're in that lifestyle, it's a war zone out there. People don't know about this stuff because it's not prevalently talked about. But if you go Google cornbread mafia, as ridiculous as it sounds, it's like literally when Dawn said it was the Crips and Bloods of hillbillies, that's 110% what it is. So, let's imagine a family gets in bad with these other families, they're at war with them, and then all of a sudden you got women going missing from your family, and there's one connection to everybody, a mother and then a sister. Something's going on with that mom, or something's going on with the dad, and they owe somebody money, or they piss somebody off, and I don't care what, or they killed their own kid. We don't know, but it's really fascinating that there's so many different events and versions to the story of what they did that day.
Yeah, mafia is real.
And the 15-year-old is very suspicious.
Well, now recently it's come out that apparently he told his girlfriend supposedly what happened. These are rumors though on the internet. And supposedly the girlfriend went and told her mother what happened to Summer, and then she went and she confronted somebody else and they got into it. This is all like local rumors and stuff, but there's a whole people are saying that they're about to crack this case wide open, and I'm pretty sure they're about to go after the parents from what everybody is kind of saying. They've been gathering evidence on them, and then I think here within the next month or so, we'll probably see some arrests and affidavits and search warrants made regarding the parents. Let's hope so. And if they didn't do it, then bless their hearts, but stop acting so fucking guilty.
I mean, their behavior seems strange to me, especially because they were like attention seeking and went on national television. I didn't see very many tears on the Dr. Phil episode that they were on. And
no, she was crying when they accused her of doing it. That's what she was upset over. She wasn't upset over her daughter missing. She was upset over the fact that they continued to tell her she was lying.
Right. And most people, if their child was missing, would not use the past tense. I just think that is super strange.
That's what really, and after we had talked about it on last week's episode when we were talking about Brian and like the interview techniques, how they do use, past tense. When I was like researching this case and kind of refreshing my memory, every single interview they do, they refer to that little girl in past tense. Every single one. And it's so eerie. And he said, oh, she's in a bed. And he actually said to his neighbor, this is the other thing the neighbor came out and said, oh, she was saying 2 days after things, she's in a better place now. Well, Dawn, what kind of place is that, Dawn?
Exactly.
Where's she
Is she at the Holiday Inn, Dawn? Is she at the Holiday Inn, drinking margaritas, Dawn? I'm curious. Curious what your definition of a better place
And
is.
also, you said you never know what you'll do when your child goes missing. However, until my child was found in some way or another, I would never lose hope that they were still alive.
I don't think I would be able to pull myself together to go on the Dr. Phil show a week later and be all upset about them asking me questions. I would be begging and pleading on TV or out there, that's another thing I forgot to mention. So they also are coming out with new information that they saw Dawn and Candy in the middle of the woods a few days after this whole thing went down, and Dawn was in the car, but Candy was out in the woods doing something.
So
this is all this new evidence that comes out.
As much as people, when they go to search for a missing person or whatever on foot and with dogs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and by the way, the mother was pissed that they were going to bring dogs to her property to find her daughter.
What?
Weird. The mom was mad that the police wanted to bring dogs to find her daughter.
Yeah, why would you not bring the dogs?
I want drones, helicopters, I want people on foot, free dog, I want, you know what I'm saying? I want it all if my kid
I want you to start calling out psychics and all that other shit. I want people out there with dowsing rods, found something, here. Come on.
We're calling everybody. We're calling ghost hunters. We're calling Ghostbusters. We're calling everybody to come and find our kids. You know what I'm saying?
I want Zach Bagans out in my yard.
Immediately. I want, what's that guy's name? Chris Hansen. I want everybody.
Well, you know what's interesting too, though, that I keep thinking back is she had 3 older brothers. The boys nobody's kind of mentioned what they've said, but I'd be hella interested to see their thoughts on this.
If she did get abducted by chance, because we all know what happened with the Strand girl, her family was blamed and they didn't do it. If she did happen to get abducted, her brothers were the last people to see her.
Yep.
But not the 8 to 12 dogs that lived on the property, or her grandma that was 25 feet away from the door that they would have had to kidnap her out, nor her mother that was supposedly only gone for 2 to 5 minutes. But yeah. They were out the lake and stuff. The 15-year-old said that Candy was letting him drink the Twisted Teas, and she got him a Skittles flavored vape. Are you gonna give your ex-friend's son a beer and a Skittles flavored vape? If I did that with your son, would you not absolutely come put a bullet in my brain?
I would beat you up. I wouldn't murder you.
Are you sure about that, Tiffany?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm over here thinking it was a Twisted Tea. It's not even any stronger than a regular sweet tea.
For a 15-year-old?
And a CBD vape?
Oh, no, not the CBD vape. Hell no.
Sassing.
Okay, in the case where they're looking for someone on property, they do the best job that they can. But for example, in the case of Christina Morris, she was found years later in an area that had been searched many times. So sometimes they just don't find what they're looking for, but that doesn't mean it won't be uncovered years later. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, when developers come to put a shopping center on their land or whatever, they find stuff.
That's crazy.
Surprised. Got a little.
I wonder if that decreases the property value, though.
Finding a dead body?
It doesn't, and I'll tell you how I know, because my parents neighbors are murdered
Right.
in their house, and their house is very expensive still.
Yeah, 'cause a lot of people don't care.
They have to disclose if like a murder took place in the house or whatever, but I don't think it lowers the property value.
In some states, they have to disclose it, but in some states, it's not required.
Right.
I know, like, if enough people don't want it because they know it's the murder house, then yeah, they have to lower the price. But eventually, like, if it gets sold enough times, people are going to forget that it's a murder house, and then you can list it at full market value, if not more, depending on where you're selling.
Yeah. In my
Not a real estate agent, though.
parents' neighbor's house, they've already had 2 different people move in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So they obviously don't care.
Can you imagine being like, oh, sweetheart, let's go downstairs and get scones, and then all of a sudden you're having flashes of people being brutally murdered in your house? It doesn't exactly say breakfast nook and cozy to me, but that's just me.
He even killed
Fully
his
renovated! All new carpet. Oh.
But anyway.
God.
Well, I pray that someday they find Summer, just like they did Christina Morris, and we'll have closure at that point to know if she was kidnapped and taken to human trafficking or if she was just killed by her parents, like I think happened.
Or, I mean, even another scenario, she's alive, she's been stowed away, and they were doing all this for attention and money, which would be the best case scenario, to be honest with you. I know that sounds horrible, but, you know.
She wandered off her property and she died of exposure.
I don't think that happened. She was a tomboy. She'd lived in Tennessee her whole life. You grew up with brothers. She knows better than to wander off. I would assume the 8 to 12 dogs are not going to let a kid fucking wander off without going and bothering her. That's just not a plausible theory to me because I'm definitely looking at old Dawn and Candace over there. But
and I mean, all of us here have dogs. We all know how annoying and invasive they are. Like, I can't even go to the bathroom with at least one of the 3 of mine following me in, let alone shut the door.
Right.
Like, come on. You mean to tell me that these dogs just let this child wander off? It didn't happen.
She said that all 8 to 12 dogs were quiet and didn't bark. And I wanted to be like, well, did y'all cut their voice boxes out? Is that why they don't bark there, Candace? Because I'm just curious how 8 to 12 dogs don't bark.
I had to put Kinsey in the laundry room because she was literally standing right there barking at me for not, like, introducing her to everyone on the show. Like,
well, you know, I have a constant bother always with me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we're signing off. Have a great rest of your day, night, afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and don't forget to subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe. And turn on your notifications and share.
The notification bells. I will pretend to be your girlfriend for $5, so turn on those notifications to get me to holler.
We will do nothing in return.
At all.
Like and subscribe. Anyway, all right. I love y'all so much. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll see everybody next week.
Yep.